These are the stories of the people who enrich our community. He goes by many names: husband, father, teacher. But some favorites are storyteller, printmaker, painter, sculptor, and book artist. Meet Kent artist Danny Pierce. At over 90 years old, you would think that Danny might be sitting in his easy chair and enjoying quiet golden years. But this artist is far from retired. He still gets up every morning, makes his way to work, about 30 feet to his artist studio and print shop. He mixes his paint or inks depending on the day, and he picks up the tools of his trade, sometimes a paintbrush and a palette of different color paints, other times an X-Acto knife or maybe an ink roller and printing ink. He then creates some of the most amazing artistic works, chronicling people as they work and live, and animals in vibrant color and intricate detail. He's as adept with a printing press and hand-carved wood blocks as he is at putting paint to canvas.
I would say the past 20 years, most of my paintings are just from ideas that I've collected, of the experiences I've collected.
He has file cabinets full of movie footage and still images of his travels around the world. Kent TV21 has had the pleasure of spending time with Danny in the studio and hearing some of the most amazing stories from Danny's life. He has not only chronicled the lives of different people, but has really had an opportunity to spend time in the shoes of the people he paints.
The mayor said, "I don't know how you did it, but you were here in such a short time, and you captured the whole feeling of the thing better than the people who've lived their lives."
He has pulled pots and driven lobster boats, helped Eskimos pull a whale onto the ice, and countless other amazing experiences. Danny explains.
I think it's the feeling of treating the individual on his own grounds is really the key to the successful experience of working with these people, the same way with the Eskimo up in Alaska. If you can accept them on their grounds and don't look down at them or do anything to cause any friction, they're nice people to work with. And the whale hunt on the ice, they caught it about a mile offshore when a lead opened up. And a lead is when the whale can surface above water. When they did that, I dropped what I was doing and I grabbed hold of the rope too and pulled with them. And then when they reached the end of their bite, they knelt down and wrapped the ropes around each other and held with their hands to keep them from slipping back into the water. Well, I did the same thing, what they were doing. And so when noon came, they asked me to join them for lunch. And I noticed that none of the other photographers had been asked. It was because I had helped. We happened to be driving through New Mexico and Cimarron, and we saw dust up ahead, and I knew they were branding cattle. So we stopped them to watch them. And I got talking with the owner of the ranch, and he invited me to join him on their cattle drive. I hadn't been on a horse for 12 years. So I was sketching one day alongside the water there, It was a cold, blustery day, and I was hunkered down behind a rock, but the wind got to me eventually, and my hands were really numb. But the fisherman came along and he asked if he could see what I was doing. And I showed him the sketches I was working on, and we got talking, and he said, "Would you like to go fishing with me?" And I said, "Sure." So from then on, every time we went back to Maine, I went out with this fisherman to catch his trap. Some days the fog would come in, it would be so dense that they couldn't go out. Their radar didn't even work. So they had to wait until it cleared somewhat. And sometimes that would be a week or 2 weeks at a time. I saw them bring in lobsters that were 24 inches long, coming off of the Great Banks, out about 12 miles out into the Atlantic Ocean. But that was exciting for me because I would just sit in the back of the boat and observe everything that went on. And eventually, after several trips with him, he would, on our way back in, he'd say, "Take the wheel," and he'd let me guide him to get them back home, which was fun. I enjoyed it.
So the story starts back in 1920 when Danny was born and raised on a California ranch during the Depression.
I grew up on Mojave Desert in California, but I was born in Woodlake on a cattle ranch there that my dad was foreman on the ranch at that time, and then we moved later to Lakeview, California, and Dad was a rancher and a farmer and what have you all of his life. My wife was born in Kent and grew up here all her life. I came in 45 after World War I, or II rather. And so from that time, my interest in the history of Kent has been with the loggers and my wife's dad and granddad had the first blacksmith shop here in Kent back in 1800 and something. And so it was natural to pick that subject as part of the history of Kent. Painting that's hanging on the right now, it used to be on Second and Meeker. Ezra Meeker used to come through Kent just off the Oregon Trail. He spent, at one time he was the hop king that grew the hops in this area. And so when it came, they wanted to show some of the history of Kent. Well, it was just natural for him to be the one to be chosen for my subject.
Danny's bold use of color was not without its controversy.
Color is natural to me, and when I first came here, Dr. Fuller as much as said that I am ruining the Northwest School of painting because of my color. But to me, color, no matter if it rains every day, the sun comes out at least 1 hour or so during the day, and when it comes out, it's intense. And the colors are so much brighter. And then in my later years, when I had cataract surgery, I couldn't believe. I had an exhibition on in Seattle at the time, and I couldn't believe they were mine. I had been compensating for lack of color, adding more color all the time, over-coloring perhaps, but it was, well, grass was just greener after the surgery. So when I had both eyes operated on within 2 weeks' time, it opened up a whole new stage of my painting. It was, in color, I don't know. I think it's personal.
And in the end, it all comes down to your ability to draw.
The so-called great colorists, their color eventually is going to fade. It's going to change. If they don't have a good understanding of space, drawing, composition, it can be bad. Because your color is not going to hold up over the centuries.
Wise words from the man as he approaches the century mark himself. He heads back to the studio to do what he loves: printing, painting, creating art. For all of us to enjoy. Images of the common man, hard at work, of animals, of life.
It's the only ambition I ever had, was to be an artist.